Greetings, fellow heretics and loyalists alike. Today, we're diving into the galaxy of Warhammer 40K to explore some of the most epic and downright hilarious ways that unfortunate souls have met their doom. From absurd mishaps to unexpected catastrophes, this is a tale of caution and laughter. I'm your host, Mar, and this is AI Lore Nexus. So, buckle up and get ready to laugh, and maybe cringe a little, as we recount the most outrageous and foolish fates in the grimdark future. Facing a bloodthirster in the grim darkness of Warhammer 40K. It's like trying to give a hug to a chainsaw-wielding maniac, but instead of hugs, they're all about carnage and bloodshed. Imagine you're on the battlefield, and suddenly, this hulking, monstrous creature with rippling muscles and a giant axe charges towards you, bellowing in rage. It's like an angry, overgrown space bunny on steroids, but with a penchant for blood and violence. As you desperately try to fight back, you quickly realize that this isn't going to be a fair fight. The bloodthirster's sheer size and power are overwhelming. It's like a wrecking ball on steroids, swinging its massive axe with reckless abandon, sending body parts flying in all directions. And here's the funny part, or not so funny, depending on your perspective. The bloodthirster's rage is contagious. It's like a bad case of space madness that spreads faster than a viral meme. The bloodthirster's bloodlust is so infectious that even your fellow soldiers start going berserk, turning on each other in a frenzy of carnage. To make matters worse, the bloodthirster seems to have a knack for avoiding your attacks. It's like trying to hit a bullseye on a dartboard while blindfolded and riding a unicycle. Your shots miss, your attacks are parried effortlessly, and you're left feeling like a clumsy rookie trying to take on a seasoned champion. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, the bloodthirster unleashes its wrath upon you. Its fiery attacks burn through your armor like a hot knife through butter, and its blood-soaked claws tear through your flesh like a hot knife through cake. You feel like a ragdoll being tossed around by an angry toddler, only this toddler has the strength of a tank and the fury of a hurricane. In the end, facing a bloodthirster is like trying to dance with a chainsaw while wearing a blindfold and tap dancing on a landmine. It's a recipe for disaster, and the bloodthirster is the conductor of this macabre symphony of blood and violence. So, if you ever find yourself facing one of these monstrous creatures, be sure to pack an extra pair of pants and a sense of humor, because you're in for a wild blood-soaked ride. Slow corruption by chaos in Warhammer 40K is like a never-ending subscription to a cosmic horror magazine that you never signed up for. At first, it might seem like a harmless prank, with a whisper here and a nudge there. But before you know it, you're knee-deep in demon-summoning circles, donning a tentacle hat, and laughing manically at the misfortune of others. It starts innocently enough, with a voice in your head encouraging you to indulge in a little mischief. You might steal a cookie from the cookie jar, trip your friend in the hallway, or blame your pet for your own flatulence. But soon, that voice gets louder, and the pranks get darker. You find yourself egging on your chaos-worshipping friends to perform bizarre rituals, painting your face in garish colors, and wearing mismatched socks as a sign of rebellion against order. As the corruption progresses, things take a turn for the bizarre. Your wardrobe becomes a hodgepodge of random and mismatched pieces, your hair starts growing in unnatural colors and shapes, and you develop a penchant for speaking in rhymes and riddles. You find yourself unable to resist the urge to cackle manically at inappropriate moments, and you're constantly torn between your desire to spread chaos and your need to fit in at family gatherings. But the real horror of slow corruption by chaos is that it's a never-ending cycle. The more chaos you spread, the more the voices in your head encourage you to keep going, until you're knee-deep in demon-infested swamps, covered in a cacophony of mismatched clothing, and singing nonsensical rhymes, while attempting to balance a teacup on your head. So, remember kids, chaos may promise fun and games, but it's a slippery slope that can quickly spiral into madness and absurdity. It's like trying to resist the urge to do the chicken dance in a serious business meeting, except the stakes are much higher, and the consequences are far more bizarre. Stay vigilant and avoid becoming a chaos pawn, unless you're willing to rock that tentacle hat and embrace the madness. The infamous acid of the Tyranid Biovore. It's like a cosmic acid trip gone wrong, but instead of rainbows and unicorns, you get stomach-churning horrors and corrosive goo. Picture this. You're facing off against a Tyranid Biovore on the battlefield of Warhammer 40K, feeling all confident and ready for a fight. You charge in, weapons blazing, only to be greeted by a relentless onslaught of bioacid. It's like being caught in a never-ending rainstorm, except the rain is a caustic flesh-eating substance that sizzles through armor and flesh like a hot knife through butter. And here's the funny part, or not so funny, depending on which side you're on. The acid is so potent that it can dissolve even the toughest of materials in seconds. Your once impregnable power armor. Melted like a popsicle on a hot summer day. Your prized weapon. Reduced to a bubbling mess of metal and plastic. Even your screams of agony are drowned out by the hissing and sizzling of the acid eating away at your flesh. It's like being in a twisted cooking show gone wrong, where you're the main ingredient in a tyrannid acid marinade. You can practically hear the biovore cackling in glee as it bombards you with acidic projectiles, laughing at your futile attempts to escape the unrelenting onslaught. And the smell. Oh, the smell. It's like a combination of burnt hair, rotting meat, and a hint of rancid cheese. It's enough to make even the hardiest of space marines gag, adding insult to injury as you're reduced to a puddle of gooey mush. So, while the biovore acid may sound like an interesting way to go, let's just say it's not something you'd want to experience firsthand. It's a reminder that the tyrannids are not to be taken lightly, and their acid attacks are a force to be reckoned with, albeit in a rather grotesque and humorous way. Oh, being devoured by a Ripper swarm in Warhammer 40K is quite the unique experience. It's like being the main course at an insectoid buffet, but instead of a peaceful meal, it's a chaotic feeding frenzy that leaves nothing but bones behind. Imagine being swarmed by a horde of tiny, insect-like creatures with razor-sharp teeth and insatiable appetites. They're like the locusts of the 41st millennium, but with a taste for flesh. They're so small and numerous that you feel like you're being attacked by a pack of tiny carnivorous dust bunnies on steroids. As they swarm over you, you can feel their tiny jaws chomping away at your flesh, like 1,000 paper cuts happening all at once. It's like being attacked by an army of hungry puppies, but instead of licking your face, they're tearing into your flesh with reckless abandon. And here's the funny, or not so funny, part. The Ripper swarm doesn't discriminate. They'll devour anything and everything in their path, including your clothes, your weapons, and even your most embarrassing secrets. It's like a tiny, feral army of shredders that's determined to leave nothing but bones and a trail of shame behind. To make matters worse, the Ripper swarm is relentless. They keep coming at you from all angles, swarming over you like a tiny, chittering tsunami. It's like trying to fight off an invasion of adorable, but vicious, bunnies armed with chainsaws. And just when you think you've fought them off, you realize that they've already infiltrated your boots, your pockets, and even your hair. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except the needle is a carnivorous bug, and the haystack is your own body. In the end, being devoured by a Ripper swarm is like being caught in a never-ending cycle of tiny, hungry mouths and tiny, hungry appetites. It's a comical, albeit horrifying, sight to behold, and you can't help but wonder if they'll at least leave your sense of dignity intact. But hey, at least you'll have a killer story to tell in the afterlife. And there you have it, folks. 5 absolutely dreadful fates that await the unlucky in the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40K. Remember, if you want to stay alive in this brutal galaxy, be sure to avoid tyrannid biovores, chaos corruption, bloodthirsters, Ripper swarms, and Necron Catan at all costs. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more tales of terror from the 41st millennium. Until then, may the Emperor's light guide your way, and may you avoid the clutches of doom. Thanks for watching, and see you in